What is up, guys? This is MaxCo4, and today we're going to be giving you a guide on the Americans and PvP. We're going to be starting with infantry, going to light vehicles, and tanks as well. Then we'll be moving on to doctrine overviews, and then doctrine strategies and build orders. We'll be starting with defensive first, but first, before we do any of that, we're going to do the overview. So for American infantry, call-ins, so one unique thing they have about them is they don't have a regular bolt action rifleman. That's for like 10 manpower. They only have the semi-automatics, which is a strength, but it also hurts them because they can lose a little bit of battlefield presence because they don't have as many infantry. Now they're strong because they have really strong light vehicles and they have all these semi-autos I just talked about. So they can usually generally win the closer infantry engagements, especially in the earlier engagements. Now they start to get weak because their infantry cost is more, so they can fall behind a little bit in infantry, and they also are very weak with tier 3. So once the tier 3 call-ins come in, they start to struggle a little bit. But starting off, your basic riflemen, you're going to want to have a couple of these. Definitely call them up to show up your lines, cover your flanks if needed. They can be very useful in pretty much all scenarios. That's going to be your mainstay of call-ins. Next, you have your SMG. SMG is 13 as well. It's going to be actually your cheapest call-in. These guys are great for putting in like buildings and stuff. Say I want to keep someone in a building. Usually, sometimes I might do something crazy and then just have someone face here. So say they come around this building, they're just going to get gunned down and kill a couple guys, especially if they rush a squad in there. Having a couple SMGs in the points, just inside a building or something like this little shack, just having them in there facing the door can really make a difference and can really bleed the enemy manpower. So make sure you use those SMGs in urban areas. The automatic rifleman for the Americans actually comes with a 3-man team. So you get the guy with the bar and you get 2 M1 Grants, which is pretty cool. It's a very useful little guy, 46 manpower. It's a pretty good steal. Next is your anti-tank teams. This guy comes with the you have your bazooka and your ammo bearer. Not the greatest anti-tank. It suffers behind the Panzerschreck, but it's still not bad. It's going to be able to get through basically like 100 armor, so you can get through most tanks, minus the heaviest ones. If you can get a side shot, you'll be good. But it's usually good to keep 1 to 3 of these alive. Your other alternative is anti-tank riflemen. So these guys, the Americans have really good riflemen. Their calling actually is only 46, and it comes with 2 riflemen. And fun fact, you can they actually have Willy Pete's. They have white phosphorus. So if you need to really quickly get rid of cover, like say this shack's in your way, you can easily catch that on fire and get rid of that cover. Pretty awesome. In addition, they have heat rounds, which can get through most armored cars about 6 meters out, and then they have high explosive, which is great for sniping infantry. And it comes with 2, so it's very nice to use these. As Americans, I recommend using these assets that you have. All the miners and engineers aren't going to really be that useful especially for battle zones or domination, but they can come in handy on good old front lines. Now, the flamethrower is also a good call-in. You can use this sometimes as a sneaker to surprise your enemies. Make sure you use some smokes. Hide him behind some smokes. He usually carries one himself. Hide him a little bit behind smokes. Usually, if you can, it's better if you can get him crawling. But if some of your targets, you have to have him a little bit more forward and standing up. So behind smoke or something like this, and then you can easily start lighting all the enemies' stuff on fire. But you want to keep him behind smoke, because if he's not behind smoke, then he's going to be pretty quickly and easily taken out. But make sure you use the one that's on him. Very useful little dude. As for the tank crew, very useful for recrewing tanks and or weapons teams, and then weapon systems. And then medic is actually pretty decent now. You can actually call him in and have him in a zone, and he'll heal up guys. So if you have a bunch of guys engaged right here, you could have him back in a house over here, then have him crawl over and help out people, which is pretty cool. Have them revived. I haven't actually used them, but I've seen other people experiment with them, and it can work out pretty well now. The automation system's there. Snipers and officers are great for towards the middle of the game and the late game. Officers are great for not only using the binoculars to sight out to 200 meters and find out enemy tanks and positions, but they're good for hiding in the back of the caps. They say they're in like a foxhole back here holding fire. They can be really good for holding the ground on points. Snipers are all around good because they have long range and they can just take out infantry. Really good on maps like this that are open. You can take advantage of and have them. They're also good on urban if you position them correctly. Snipers can be very useful. They're also stealth dudes, so you can actually give them a bazooka and have them go behind enemy lines, so they're a lot harder to be detected if they have hold fire and they're crawling. So that's pretty much it for the infantry. All of them are pretty useful. Make sure you use those rifle grenades. That's a big standout for the Americans. Moving on to support weapons, they have quite a bit of support weapons. They have a 30 cal, 2 versions of 30 cal. And then they have the 50 cal, quad 50, all these AT guns. Really, the only thing I really recommend is the 81mm mortar, and that's mid to late game, just to help hold down a point and harass. It's a pretty good, pretty effective thing. Has a Willipede as well, so it's good for burning down areas and clearing out enemy infantry if you need to. But and it fires pretty fast, so it can make a difference for like little zones like this you're trying to fight over. But for everything else, I prefer to have everything mounted, so I can't recommend the 60mm more. Is a little too small for me, and then the howitzer is way too expensive. Anti-tank guns, I'd rather have it on tracks, personally, so I don't really recommend any of these. If you guys have anything different in the comments, make sure you drop it below. Light vehicles, Americans have a lot of light vehicles to choose from. I actually don't recommend getting any of these top 6, okay? None of these top 6, in my opinion. The only one you might get is the GMC if you lose your transport for your gun, you want to get cheap transport, or you want to do some crazy flanks, which I've seen done. It's only 25 manpower, could be a good choice, but none of these top 6. Next we have the scout car, which is not a bad calling, but it's not the best. M2 half track, not bad, but pretty, not the greatest. And then the M3A1 half track, I don't think it's worth it. M20, this is probably your best calling in the all the light vehicles. It's freaking beast. I'll show you why later. LVT4, not worth it in my opinion. It's too slow and it's not worth it. I like to use it versus AI because it's got 250 cals and 230 cals, but in competitive games, not worth it at all. M13 is definitely worth it. It's probably the second best vehicle in this arsenal. Next we have the Greyhound. Greyhound's also an okay vehicle. It's not the best, but it is okay. Supply, you might need this later in the game. Fuel and engineer, you're pretty much not going to need them. Engineer can be useful on front lines, but that's pretty much it. So going into these vehicles, the M20 is probably your best vehicle because it has a 50 cal, it's very mobile, has decent armor, and it carries a bazooka in it. As you can see, the red emblem above it has a bazooka inside its inventory. So what you generally want to do is get not the crew member, but just get a rifleman, because the crew member is only going to have 150 health. But if you look in here, he has a bazooka and he has all of the rounds. Now you can hide that guy in a bush and hide him on hold fire, and then he can just mess up someone's day with a bazooka. Pretty cool little thing. That's the main reason why people get it, because it's a nice vehicle, but it comes with anti-tank as well. Then you have the M13, which is 250 cals. This thing's pretty mobile, and it absolutely shreds infantry. It's not that expensive. As you can see, this one only costs about 230 and 185 for both of these. This is the first best, second best, great vehicles. Next, you have the Greyhound. This is good for light anti-tank. So, say I only bring it up really if I'm facing an armor car I need to deal with. That's like a light armor card, like an 8-rat or something. High explosive is pretty fast firing, so that's an advantage. And then it has the 30 cal, and it has, if you need an extra rifleman, you can get someone to man the 50 cal up on top and make it kind of a beast with the 50 cal. But overall, it's just kind of meh. It's a situational vehicle. I usually not going to get it just to get it. I'm just getting it as a reaction to take care of enemy armored cars or light tanks. Well, not bad though. Then we have the M3A scout car, which I will actually tell you guys about later why it's one of my favorites. And then same thing for the half track. Both of them can carry some infantry. Both of them have a 50 cal and some 30 cals, but they have their secrets that will come around later as well. Next we have the tanks. Now, if you look in the tanks, there is so many tanks. Now, I only recommend that there's 5 of these tanks that I actually would buy, with a couple of exceptions. But starting off, your second lightest tank, the Chaffee. You don't want the Stuart, because the Stuart has the same gun as the Greyhound. You just get the Greyhound, it's cheaper. Chaffee, okay, so this has the same gun that all the light Shermans have. It's got the 75 that's got 190 range. It can easily. This is my oh shit tank that I only use if I'm going to be getting rid of, need to get rid of some armor cars. Maybe there's a Puma that's harassing me and it killed my vehicle. That's the only reason I really like the Chaffee. It's great for situations and reaction because it's pretty cheap and it has a decent gun. But all these Shermans, this 1, 2, 3, 4 of these Shermans, pretty useless. This one can be T1E3 with the mine roller, can be useful in front lines if you're attacking, but other than that, I would not recommend getting any of these Shermans in the late war. Next, you have the M4A1 76, M4A3 76, and the M4A3 76 HVSS. All these are pretty decent, but I would recommend the HVSS because this one has the best mobility, and it also carries 2 of the, what is it called? The HVAP rounds, which have high velocity armor piercing, really good armor piercing. It's going to be able to get through some heavier tanks, so it can actually start to threaten the front armor of a Tiger, and it can get the Panther in some angles on the turret as well. So very effective having those 2 rounds, and it costs the same as the regular 76. So I'd recommend HVSS. Definitely, these are definitely a mid-game buy. If you're struggling with enemy tanks, you can save up and buy this, especially if you have good infantry presence. Other good one that's actually cheaper, the 590, is the Hellcat. It has pretty much the same gun, doesn't have the HVAP rounds, but it has 200 range just like the Sherman, and it's going to have the best mobility in the game of any tank. This thing can get super fast. It's kind of crazy. That's the main reason. There's like a lot of the tanks' mobility doesn't matter, but for this tank, the mobility actually has a factor because this thing can get around so dang quick. It can be a huge burden, and I like to take it on risky maneuvers behind enemy lines, especially if I scout out with infantry, get behind enemy tank, and then I can get out of there pretty dang quick. The only thing that might rival this in maneuverability is a Puma. I think that's the only vehicle I can think of that has the maneuverability to keep up with this bad boy, that has a decent armament. So Hellcat, definitely a good choice. It is paper armor, so you got to keep that in mind, but definitely a good choice for emergency. I like to use that as my AT gun. Told you I didn't like to get AT guns. That's what I'd recommend getting as an AT gun because it's just so dang mobile. For late game picks, so if you're struggling around tier 3 call-ins, about 25-minute marks or 20-minute marks, then the 90mm GMC M36. I've seen people get this early. It's got decent armor. Got 38mm plate bolted on top of the already armor. So it's got a 76mm armor up here, so it's not gonna be able to. It's gonna be able to duel with medium tanks, but it's not gonna struggle with light tanks. But what it really can do is it can start to get through the heavier tanks. It's gonna be able to penetrate Tigers and anything in below. Panthers are gonna have to hit the turret, so just gotta be careful with the Panthers. But the Tiger and below, this thing's gonna be a beast. Versus anything higher, you're gonna really struggle. Same thing for this. This is the jumbo. So there's two jumbo versions: the short barrel and the long barrel. The long barrel is the only one you really want. Short barrel is just not going to be able to damage anything for the price. It's just not worth it. And this one also carries 2 HVAP rounds as well. So it's going to be able to threaten Tigers and whatnot. And this one can actually take a beating. As you can see, it's got 100mm of armor and a slope. Makes it highly effective. Heavily has a couple weak points like in the turret, in the MG sections. But as you can see, this. You're not going to be able to penetrate the turret from the front, and you're going to really struggle with the frontal armor unless you hit the MG. And they can kind of angle that to make it a little bit hard for you as well. So just keep that in mind. This is a kind of a beast, but it's not going to be a beast. It's only going to be a beast. Like versus Finland, this thing can be a beast. Versus Germany, most auctions are going to be able to have a King Tiger or a Yag Tiger, or a Yag Panther. They'll put this thing out in action pretty quick. But that's a general overview for the faction. Now we're going to move on to the actual first doctrine. Alrighty guys, so the first doctrine that we're going to be talking about is defensive. Now defensive has 3 5-minute call-ins. First off, we have the engineer vehicle. I highly recommend not getting this. It carries mines, large amount of anti-personnel and some anti-tank mines as well. And it has a 50 cal, but I mean, this truck, you don't want one on the front lines, so the 50 cal is kind of useless. And it can resupply engineers, but what's the cost? Front lines, this could be viable, but anywhere else, I'm not going to recommend it. Next, we have the 40mm carried in on a scout car. Very useful weapon. It can obliterate infantry and light vehicles. Can be very useful. Just gotta make sure you keep it ready to move. Then we have the 75mm GMC. This thing actually has 190 range. Uses the same gun that's on the lower tier Shermans. Got 190 range, which has the highest range of any tier 1 column that I know of. So it's actually pretty strong. Has a great gun. It can outrange Pumas and the grill with the 30cm. So just keep that in mind that this is probably the best call-in for the allies for tier 3, or one of the best ones for sure, just because of the range on this weapon makes it so lethal. Next, for the second call-ins, we have the good old 4.2-inch mortar. So this thing is a huge mortar, but it's a mortar that. Then we have another M3 bringing in a 90mm cannon. So this 90mm cannon is the same, very similar to what they use on the Jacksons. A little bit worse, but it is still a beast and it can still penetrate through Tiger's front armor in places. So it is definitely dangerous, and it's tier 2, so it's going to be able to kill pretty much anything that comes out to face it. It's just not super mobile. It folds up like a little spider, which I think is pretty cool. See this little thing? Look at that. Looks like a little spider. I like it. And then you have the 105. So the 105 is actually pretty cool, but it's... Bad thing about it is it has long range, but only carries 8 rounds of HE, so you're going to pretty much have to call in an ammo truck to support this bad boy. Nice little thing, it's got 50 on the back to prevent enemies from coming in and to deal with the aircraft, but, I mean, it's really got no movement, and it's kind of useless back there, so it's okay vehicle, not terrible, not great. Then we have 2 huge howitzers, 8 inches, has bigger shells, and then we have the long tom, which can reach pretty much the furthest for all U.S. Artillery. Then you have the 90mm GMC M36B1. Now this is the actual exact same turret as the 90mm that you can call in from your tanks, as you can see, but it's on the Sherman hull. So Sherman hull, 63mm of armor at a slope. Not bad, but not great. And this thing isn't super expensive, which makes it pretty useful, but just it's not the greatest thing. It's not going to compete with King Tigers, that's for sure, unless you get a side of the turret shot. But now we're going to move into the infantry. So for the infantry for this, we have good old MPs, cheapest infantry call-ins that you can get for the Americans, 132, which isn't really that cheap. These guys all have semi-autos. They only have 150 health, 75 stamina, and they're just kind of generic. They don't have can't dig foxholes, which is kind of a bummer. Next, we have the cavalry, which has two cycles. We have the first one that comes with a 30 cal. Second one comes with a 50 cal. Really nice vehicles. Like to use them. Then you have your rifle squad, which comes in 3 cycles. First one comes with a whole bunch of M1 Grands, a couple rifle grenades, and a Browning automatic rifle. Second one, same thing, just comes with a bazooka and a Thompson as well, which is pretty cool. And the third one just spices it up with some more bars. Pretty cool. All of them come with anti-tank grenades / mines, so those are very effective, and they all have white phosphorus grenades as well. Then moving on, we have the engineer squad. Engineer squad has, of course, an engineer, and then a bunch of infantry, 200 health for both these squad groups. And then the second one just has little bit different allocation of mines. They have anti-personnel, anti-tank mines. Don't really use these guys that much, but they can be very effective. Next, we're going to be going to the where are they at? All right, so the veteran rifle squad is pretty similar to the good old original rifle squad. These guys are just veteran. They're vet 5s, can be more accurate, and they actually have more health. As you can see, 230 versus 200. Oh, excuse me, 200 is 230s for both of them, but it's still pretty nice that these guys are veterans. They have better accuracy, which can make them kill more people. Nice little call-ins though. Next, we have the 101st Glider Squad. 101st Glider Squad is pretty cool. It's as you can see, it's their first tier 3. So these guys are pretty much just as effective. They just have more health. They get a little bit more beefy, 300 health, which is going to make these guys stand out quite a bit. The third squad actually has a bazooka, so that's pretty useful. The rest of them have rifle grenades and mainly M1 Grands as well. Good amount of anti-tank mines as well. Then moving on, you have the 101st Airborne Pathfinders. Pathfinders are really good for sneaking around, doing shenanigans, and finding out where the enemy's at. They're pretty cheap too, only 123. They come out a little bit later in the game, but these guys can be very handy as they have 325 health, and they actually a couple of them have SMGs, which can be useful for getting up close into buildings and whatnot. So make sure you're using these guys very effectively and using them as scouts as well. Then we have the 101st Airborne Engineer Squad. Now I do like these guys. They don't actually come with engineers, but they do come with a flamethrower, which makes them very useful for urban operations. Now the rest of them pretty much have M1 Grands and whatnot, so they're not going to be the best at urban, but they're just going to be better than riflemen. So that's where the US shines right there. And then last but not least, we have the 101st Airborne Squad. So this one's come with 30 cal, which is pretty freaking sick. They're very expensive. They're tier 4, just like the last two that were mentioned. So they're pretty beefy with 375 health. But they have the 30 cal. Where's he at? There he is, 30 cal. And this thing's going to make the Americans be a little bit more menacing when fighting anybody other squads, since this one has a 120 range. It can be pretty effective versus the enemy MG42s, but it's not quite as good in my opinion. Then we have the second call-in one that just basically comes with a bazooka. M9A1 bazooka, anti-tank launcher. Awesome little bazooka. But this is a great infantry squad for coming into the later in the game. But now we're going to move into the build orders. Alrighty guys, so build order number 1 for the defensive doctrine is going to be, first off, we're going to call in an MP squad. Get some infantry on the field. Next, you're going to go in there, call in a cavalry recon, which is going to give you this nice 30 cal to harass the enemy. Personally, for the recon, I like to drop one guy out of it. Just get a guy out of there, have him go and hold fire, throw him in a bush. Since they have longer view duration, I like to throw them on one of the sides to the left or the right and have them go recon while this guy goes to work destroying enemies as much as possible. After that guy, I'm going to need actual riflesmen. So what I'm going to do is call in a rifle squad, just a generic rifle squad, get those guys, some more beefy guys in there. And then I'm going to call in another cavalry squadron. The next cavalry recon is going to be these guys, and they're going to have the 50 cal, which this guy is a little bit more impressive. He's going to reach out to 140 meters, and this actually has pretty good health takeaway at the distance. One thing I would recommend doing is putting this engine behind the somewhere that's going to protect it, like maybe these logs or sandbags or something that's going to keep it alive a little bit longer, because these guys can get pretty much destroyed by light machine guns and grenade launchers. So just be careful with them. You're going to use this one a little bit longer range, towards the max of its range. This one you're going to have to use a little bit closer and harass the enemy. Like this strategy, because it's a little bit more aggressive. After that, I'm going to go into my veteran rifle. It's called a red veteran rifle squad. And then usually anti-tank infantry right before that, because, you know, never know what the enemy's going to do. And then right around there, I'm going to be having my first call-in. So my first call-in for these strategy is going to be the 40 millimeter. So I'm going to call in the 40 millimeter. It's going to be supporting all my infantry. Be great, and it's going to take out the enemy light vehicles I see. We always keep this guy close so I can just hook up and leave if needed, especially if there's enemies in the vicinity. One thing I do like about this is how fast the gun fires, but I would avoid this in Irregular, because as soon as you see anything from Irregular, you know this is going to have a hard time, because you can get a bomb on this right away. Yes, it's a gun, but you're probably going to miss the plane, and it's going to land on you. After that, I'm going to go to the good old 105. So the 105, this thing has pretty long range, very effective weapon. However, you're going to have to call in ammo truck to support it, because these rounds are going to get used up pretty quick, because the reload on this guy is not that bad. He's going to be able to reload the rounds pretty quick, and a couple minutes later, this bad boy is going to be out of range. Out of shells. Cool thing that this guy has is he has Willipede as well, and he has heat. So one thing I like to do is if I have between mess up a vehicle or whatnot, a vehicle that's turret is knocked out, I like to move this guy up and take out the guys with heat. You have to be a little bit too close for comfort to normally be fighting them, so I only bring him up if I'm going to be fighting a damaged tank. But it's a nice little thing. You need an ammo truck to support it. After this, I'm going to go to the 155 millimeter long tom. So this is going to give me a nice artillery advantage, and I know I'm going to be able to outrange pretty much everything they have. A nice artillery tractor who's ready to move me at any time, get me linked up, and then I'll just drive off right away. If I see enemy artillery coming in or enemy plane coming in, this thing can get me out of there pretty quick. Pretty useful little dude, and he can unhook me right away, get another shot off. It can be useful to do this right after you shoot, because I think it actually reloads if you're moving, so it can be a tricky little thing to do. After that, I'm probably going to go to tier 3 infantry and buy some, what we got here. Probably going to buy some of these 101st glider squads or airborne, depending if I'm in an urban area, and then move on to the heavy airborne guys towards the end. And that's going to be my first build order. Right, so that first build order is towards a little bit of having my double Jeep so I can see from my 40 millimeter. The next one's going to be a little more a mixture of the two. So what I'm going to be calling in first, I'm going to be having a rifle squad coming in here right off the rip. And then right after the rifle squad, I'm going to be having an M20, like I said, is my favorite vehicle. I'm going to bring this in. It's going to bring in my anti-tank support too, because I bring one of my good old riflemen out of there. And he's going to be able to get the anti-tank missile launcher, the bazooka. Immediately after that, I'm going to call in some veteran rifles, get these veteran rifles up there, and then I'm going to have the good old 101st squad. So probably going to be one of these squads, probably the one with the flamethrower. If I'm fighting like a fight like right here, if not, I'll just call in the regular 101st glider squad, but one of the tier 3 or 4 squads. And as for the DP call-ins for this one, I'm going to be calling in the good old 75 millimeter half track. So this one having the 190 range can give me a huge advantage versus anything. Even the Puma 2343 with a nice little stubby gun that's so good, I can outrange it. What you want to do with this guy is you don't want to be fighting up close. You want to make sure you keep him at roughly close to your max distance. If you're firing like right here, HE, fire some rounds, you can get back. You're gonna be very careful with this thing. It's got very thin armor. It can defeat pretty much anything that you encounter, but it does have that thin armor, so you want to be very, very careful. The M20 should be able to scout for you, so you're not getting this guy killed. So you kind of want to keep the M20 alive. After that, we're going to be moving in and getting the 90 millimeter. So this guy is going to be very useful for taking out enemy medium tanks that you'd be facing, or any enemy light vehicles you'd be facing to be more than a match. Same thing, keep the truck close, so that way you can hook up. This one's a little bit slow to hook up. You can start moving before it's packed up. It'll pack up the little Spider-Man as you're good to go, and you'll be on your way. Now, same thing if you're facing a regular, you probably want to avoid this. But if you're facing a lot of tanks, you might want to get this bad boy to kind of help you out. Although it can struggle versus heavy tanks, so if you're facing a tiger, probably not the best choice. But it can work. After that, I'm going to move into the 8-inch. Now, this is going to put me at, where's he at? 8-inch. This one's a little bit bigger gun, but has a shorter range. So it's very nice for taking out enemy positions. Because as you can see, that shell is huge. It's good for level in areas that are closer. Good infantry support, not as great for anti-artillery. But this will keep me at 155. The first one was going to put me at 195, so I don't really have much room to buy anything. This one puts me at 155. Excuse me, 160. So I have room to actually buy some more stuff. So I'm 160 with buying the 75, then the 90 millimeter, and then the 8-inch. So I still have 40 to buy, so I can still get another one of these. Or anything up here to call in, or the mortar. So you do have some flexibility, which is nice. And then after that, I'm pretty much just gonna be buying the late tier infantry as well. All right, build 3 is going to be one of my more aggressive ones. This one's going to come with the good old riflemen. So rifleman squad. Then we're going to send in our cavalry. 30 cal surprise, followed by infantry. I'm just going to call in some infantry from call-ins. I'm going to use my call-in infantry, call in a bar or something. Just get a couple of roughly infantry squads so that it makes the enemy think that you're calling actual infantry in. You can fake with 4 or 5 riflemen that there's a whole squad there, even though you just send in a couple call-ins. After that, I'm going to bring in my second Jeep, 50 cal Jeep. He's going to get to work just like the first group did. And then I'm immediately going to call in some AT infantry. Now this one is going to be followed by, I'm trying to get the heavier guys first. Going to get some glider squads and some airborne whatnot. But this one thing about this one is I'm going to go for the GMC right up the rip. GMC, same thing. I went to 90 millimeters of power to be able to destroy. This one's about staying mobile. So I'm going to move into the 105 as well. 105 is going to be next. And he is going to be my mobile artillery. So I have 2 mobile half tracks to move around, which is going to be pretty cool. And then I have an ammo truck to get with this guy probably after just a little bit. And then from here, then I'm going to move over to the 90mm GMC with this one. Because 90mm GMC is still going to be a tanker. It's still going to be able to friendly take a tiger to the shots. And then with its regular shots, it's still not going to be able to struggle versus much stuff. Anywho, after that, I'll be at 155, so I might swing back and get a 9mm if I need it, because that's 45, and that'd be topping me off perfectly. Nice little combo, and then some veteran infantry to sum it all up. Overall, this is a great map. This is actually a pretty decent map for defensive doctrine, but defensive doctrine is probably the weakest of all the U.S. doctrines, because it just struggles versus the German heavier DP call-ins. Infantry-wise and support weapons has pretty good, but it's probably the worst U.S. doctrine. Now we're going to move on. Moving on to Irregulars, it looks very similar to defensive in terms of infantry. We have the MP squad, which hasn't changed at all. No shovels, big thing to remember about. Cavalry, which comes with 30 cal and 50 cal surprises. 29th Infantry Division, which operates a little bit like the other infantry squad. As you can see, this one's deemed more defensive. It has a lot of grenades and smokes, but doesn't have as many, doesn't have any mines, anti-tank defensives, except until the third. The third column does actually have a bazooka, but just be aware that these ones don't have as much anti-tank other than the rifle grenades. They don't have any in the mines, like the defensive had tons of mines. Then moving on, we have the 82nd Airborne column. These guys are the flamethrower, pretty much the equivalent. They have a bunch of semi-autos, but they also have a flamethrower to help out. Great for urban areas, and it's only 182, so they're actually 214, so they're not bad at all. And they're also going to come with quite a bit of mines, anti-tank mines, so make sure you plant those, make it a living hell for the axis that you're facing. Moving on to the 82nd Glider Squad. As you can see, a little glider emblem over here. These guys are pretty badass. They are tier 3, so they're going to be very good, just like the other one. And they have quite a bit of infantry. First, second, third ones don't change a ton, but they get a bazooka in the last one, which is something to note if you're buying multiple of them. And they have a good assortment of weapons in every single one of them, with the Browning automatic rifles and the Where do we got? Yeah, multiple brand automatic rifles, which is pretty cool. And then the bazooka in the last one. Last of this row is 82nd Airborne Recon. So these guys are going to be it's a small group of them. See, move them up just a little bit. There's only 4 of them, so take note, they're only 97, but they can be great little high health recon guys you can buy. There's 12 CP, not that much. You can just hide them in a bush, make sure you get some easy recon during the mid or late game. Then we have the 82nd Airborne Pathfinders. Pathfinders are sick. Where are these guys at? Yeah, Pathfinders. Only one group of them. They have some SMGs and they have some rifles as well. Can be very good at close quarters. Actually, they have decent health, 325, so they can handle themselves quite well with all the SMGs and semi-autos they have. Also have some mines. Then we have the good old 82nd Airborne Detachment, or Demolition Section. Excuse me. Where is it at? Demolition Section. So this guy, he has a bazooka, and then they also have a lot of demolitions as well, which is pretty cool. Last but not least, we have the good old 82nd Airborne Squad. Now this one comes in 2 groups. First one coming with quite a bit of infantry and 30 cal surprise, much like the 101st counterpart. And then the second one comes with a bazooka, which makes it very useful for anti-tank. Also rifle grenades and 375 health, being tier 4, which is pretty awesome. Moving to the DP columns, we have the Red Ball Express, which come with 2 ammo trucks with 50 cals on them. Then you have the 75mm pack howitzer, pretty cool little pack howitzer we have here. Little airborne dudes have it, which they have 101st patches, little Easter egg. I don't know why the 101st is carrying all the weapons for the 82nd. Not sure if they has a miss skin or whatnot. Then we have the 250-pound bomb, which is always useful for tracked tanks. Then we have the first special groups. Where's the special forces guys? These guys are pretty cool. They have a medic. They have bazookas, and then they have like some of the guys even have freaking knives. Where's he's demolition dude. Give me another guy. There's someone in his squad that has the squad leader has it. There's a couple guys in here that have throwing knives in there. This guy, as you can see, that guy has a flare pistol, so he actually has access to calling in artillery, which makes it super useful. And then there's there's the throwing knives and demolitions in there. So this is a huge, awesome squad you can break up. They're very hard to detect if you hold fire and have them behind lines. Love getting these dudes. Then we have the good old flamethrowers, Sherman. And then we have, once again, a 105, shorter version of the 105, which 101st Airborne guys supporting the 82nd. Then you have the 500-pound bomb, 4.5-inch gun, which is just a huge gun that can take out enemy infantry positions pretty easily. Not as good as a long tom, but it's still pretty dang good. Has an high-speed artillery tractor. And then you have the Calliope, which is arguably one of the, if not the best anti-infantry rocket in the game. So now we're going to move on to build orders for Irregular. Irregular is a great support doctrine for supporting your teammates in team games, but can also work in 1v1. So this build order is going to be the first one. So we're going to start off with the 29th Infantry Squad, which is your these guys over here, 29th Infantry Squad. Start off with them. Then you're going to move on to the M20. M20 is the good old column vehicle. Going M20 next, which helps you out with anti-tank. And then we're going to go straight to the 82nd glider. 82nd glider dudes. So these guys are going to be next. And they'll bring up a nice base of 3-tier units. And then we'll follow them with glider pioneers. Or we might switch these up depending on if there's a lot of urban area that we have to fight over. And then we'll bring in the 82nd Airborne Demolition Squad as last but not least, before we start moving into the mid to late game. So our first call in for this one, we're going to go with the good old 250-pound bomb as a backup, but we're going to have the first thing be the 105, excuse me, the 75 pack howitzer. 75 pack howitzer is going to be up first, followed by the good old flamethrower. Flamethrower is going to be very useful. It actually has a regular gun, so it's going to be very good at taking out infantry with the gun, and then the whole mounted flamethrower is going to make it extremely versatile and good to use. Now, after that, we're going to be moving into the 4.5-inch gun, which is going to make it be very useful for artillery support. Make us a very helpful having multiple howitzers out here. And then we can move into having one 500-pound bomb, and we can have 3 250-pound bombs for tracked vehicles. Now this makes it very versatile, very helpful for your teammates, and then very helpful for yourself in case you track tanks. Main goal for this doctrine is just shoot the track out in the tank and then bomb it, because they're not going to be able to get out of time. Shoot a track, and if you have another round, shoot another track. Shoot both tracks, they're definitely not going to have time to get out of there. Even one track, they're probably not going to have call time if you call it in right away. So that's the first build order. Second one is going to start off with the good old MPs. I think we know where this is going. MPs. Then we're going to have Cav 1. Then after that, we're going to bring in some 29th Infantry, Cav 2, and then mix in some anti-tank call-ins from here, because that's going to help us kill the enemy tanks if they call them in. And then we're going to call in some 82nd Glider Squad, the veteran dudes. This one's going to go very well with... this one's actually kind of like a surprise one. So we're actually going right off the rip. We're going to 250 pound bombs to try to surprise the enemy, take off a team-based weapon, or take out a track tank if we can, or damage tank if we can get it. Then moving from here, we're going to go to the 105 howitzer. So we have some nice artillery support. 105 howitzer is going to be very, very nice. And then we're going to move to the Calliope. Calliope is going to be nice because this thing can fire 2 barrages. As you can see, if we're focusing on right here, oh, excuse me, wrong thing. It's going to fire half its barrage into this area, and we can eliminate all infantry within the vicinity. Very, very nice. Now, third, we're going to have another start with 29th Infantry. 29th Infantry coming out first, and then we're bringing in the good old M13. Where is the M13 at? Where is he? Yeah, the M13 double 50 cal. We're going to bring him in, and then we're going to bring in an AT squad as well, because just in case they try to bring in some vehicle to kill M13, keep him protected. And then after that, we're going to bring in another 82nd Glider Squad. These guys are our mainstay, as you can see, and then 82nd Demo Squad. With this one, it's going to be a little bit more of a variable. We're bringing the Red Ball Express. We're bringing these guys. These guys are kind of a sleeper unit. This one's great for team games because using these guys to refill all your infantry and support weapons. Just pull your infantry a little bit behind the lines, so you can refill their ammo, and then support weapons, they should be back behind the lines anyway. Great for if the friendlies are using artillery or anything like that, or what 105s, Shermans can be resupplied by with this as well. And then after that, we have Red Ball Express. We're going to go straight into the good old, where is it at? The first special group guys. So these are going to be a special force. So since you don't have that much to micro, you just have to micro these guys around for ammo. You can move these special forces around and do some shenanigans with them. Get behind enemy lines, hide and cover, hold fire, and just move up and take out enemy tanks pretty easily. Nice to have fun with these dudes. They're very hard to detect if they're not shooting and if they're crawling. Then last but not least, we're going to move into the Calliope again. The Calliope is a great support vehicle because it can defend itself and it can take out a hell of a lot of infantry very, very quickly. Personally, my favorite for this one is probably going to be the one that starts out with the pack howitzer, because I like pack howitzer and I like getting the flamethrower tank next. So pack howitzer into the flamethrower tank is probably going to be my favorite one, just because I like using flamethrower tanks. But that's it for Irregular. Probably not a bad doctrine, but it's not the best. Alrighty guys, so next we have the offensive doctrine. Their infantry, they have armored recon team. It's just 4 guys in a jeep without a machine gun. Big emphasis without a machine gun. 4 recon dudes, they can see a little bit further, so they're very useful. Next we have the armor riflemen, which they get better with as the squads go on. They get anti-tank, they get Browning automatic rifles, and this one actually has an officer, which is pretty sick. But then moving on, we have the armor rifles, same thing, but they come in actual half tracks this time. They come in the M3A1 half track, which is pretty dang sick. Then you have the good old 10th Mountain. 10th Mountain's up here. These guys are going to be tier 3, so they're going to have more health, 300 health versus the 230 for these dudes. Actually, 230, that's what the difference is, 300 on those ones. 230 versus 300 on these dudes, and these guys are going to be pretty dang good. 10th Mountain going to be great versus infantry, and then the last one comes with bazookas and a lot of rifle grenades, as you can see on these guys, which makes them very, very useful versus infantry as well. Then you have your first AD recon, just some more recon dudes. They're just 3 tiers, so they'll be a little bit stronger, and they're veterans, but I mean, they're recon, so I don't really need them to be veterans, so I don't really think that one's that great. Then you have the first AD Rifle Squad. Now these ones are going to be a little bit more expensive because they're higher tier, and they have, as you can see, where's he at? They have a higher veterancy, the veterancy 5 versus the other guys coming in there. Only going to be a veterancy 3. So these guys are going to be very good coming in into half tracks as well, giving you some nice support weapons. Then they're coming in with the bazookas and grenade launchers, quite a bit of them as well. And will have assortment of whatever you need to be called in. Next, you have the good old Ranger Assault section. Ranger Assault section is very good for taking out infantry. Tier 4, they've got bars, they've got SMGs, so it can be really good at closing the distance on urban with M1 Grands and SMGs and bars. After that, you have the Ranger Assault Group, which is pretty much the same thing. It just comes with the Browning machine gun, which is pretty cool. Light machine gun, or I guess a medium machine gun, or classified as heavy machine gun by some, but I consider it a medium machine gun. And last but not least, you have the Ranger Special Weapons. Special Weapons comes with 2 anti-tank guys, pretty cool, and a 60mm mortar. So it's got a big bang for the buck. Going to DP. So first we have the scout car. As you can see a hell of a lot of the map, about 200 with his binos. They got 50 cal as well. Then we get the CGMC 15 Alpha 1, has 250 cals and a 37mm, which is pretty sick for taking out enemy light vehicles. Then you got the 75mm Scott, which has a short 75mm and a 50 cal. Pretty cool little vehicle. Then you have the Hellcat, as we've seen before. You have a good old radio operator, which can call in 155mm artillery. Then the HVSS field mod, 76 mod. It's pretty much the same one as, where's he at? The HVSS right here. But the modifications to this one is he has higher armor. As you can see, he's got a lot of bolted on armor, because make his armor a lot thicker. Then he's got armor on the sides to cover up his ammo. But it's 138mm armor versus a 38 on the sides is normal. So this makes this guy pretty tanky and good to fight enemy vehicles with. Then moving on to the last ones, you have 8-inch artillery. So there's gonna be huge ass guns of artillery. Get 6 of those, pretty cool. And then you have the good old 155mm M1. Not as good as a long tom, but still a nice artillery piece. You'll be able to take out enemy artillery if needed, and it's also going to be able to take out infantry pretty easily. Make sure you keep that high-speed tractor close so you can avoid artillery, though. Then you have the Super Pershing. This thing is a beast. It's got super highly up-armored turret. It's going to be very hard to take out the turret, and then the front, it's got a nice gun. It's going to be able to take out anything that's a Panther, Tiger, or below. It's going to struggle more versus the King Tigers unless you get a side shot, and the Yag Tigers, so definitely want to track it and hope that you have infantry that can get up close. Because it's not a bad vehicle, but it's certainly not the best. As where I said the American struggle tier 3 this is what I was talking about. So going into the build orders, we're going to have Armored Rifleman for our first one. We're going to have Armored Rifleman, these bad boys right up here. Armored Rifleman's coming in first, and then coming in is going to be your Armored Mounted. So you have a half-track vehicle right off the rip. Cool thing about these half-tracks, we're going to show you right now, is you come up to them, you're going to look inside here. They got some nice goodies for you. You got 24 anti-tank mines, so make sure you take those guys out and plan on those anti-tank mines in areas that enemy might be. A very good job for the recon to do, since they're not going to be doing a lot of this stuff except for recon, so build some anti-tank mines on places you might think enemies might try some shenanigans. After that, we're going to bring the first AD squad. Where's he at? Yeah. No, that's not the first AD. First AD rifle squad. So we're going to bring these guys in, mounted, so you have 2 half-tracks. A lot of firepower going over there. Obviously, you don't need the M20 or Jeeps, because you have all these half-tracks. And then from there, we're going to go over here. We're going to have multiple half-tracks, and then we're going to have multiple of these bad boys. We're going to get 2 of these M15A1s, because this is pretty effective versus light vehicles and infantry. These things are going to be pretty awesome. You're just going to keep them protected. Same thing, try to keep the engine protected if you can. You're going to get a second one, these right after that. So it gives you a lot of firepower with 2 half-tracks and these 2 vehicles to take out enemies. Then immediately after that, you're going to move into the good old 76 with the field modifications. Make sure you keep this one at max range if you can. He still has the nice little HVAP rounds, so if you need to take out an enemy tank, you can switch to those pretty quickly. After that, you're going to move into the Super Persian. So Super Persian, and that's going to take you to 60, 70, 80. What's going to take you to, where's it at? And let me do that real price real quick. Yep, that's going to take you to 200. So that's going to be filled out exactly nicely. Not obviously not the best tank at tier 3, but it does have a great gun. It's gonna make it be able to compete with most of the tier 3s, just not the super heavies. So just super heavies, just gonna try to track them and try to take out them with infantry. But nice little build order. I like that one because of how aggressive it is. Next, we're gonna move into the second one. So the second one is gonna start off with the cavalry. So we're gonna send in where is he at? The cavalry recon, scout out the area with a couple individuals here and there, and then we're gonna bring in 10th Mountain Squad. 10th Mountain Squad be pretty effective. These guys are tier 3, so they're gonna be pretty beefed up. After that, we're gonna bring in an M13 to help out as a light vehicle, and then anti-tank squad. Where's he at? Anti-tank team, followed by a regular rifleman, armor rifleman. It'll be the second armor rifleman. The first armor rifleman coming in, and then following that up with a ranger assault squad. Very good unit. For this one, for the second one, we're gonna be, where is he at? Yes, we're gonna be doing the Scott. Scott's a very great vehicle, good for infantry support, and it has heat rounds, which can make it very effective versus light vehicles. A little bit short on the range, but if you can get a nice flank in or close in behind a building, it can take out pretty much any other tier 1 that you'll be facing, like the Pumas or the Grills, anything. They can take you out, so just be careful. As you can see, it can fire over stuff, so you use that to your advantage. If you're trying to fire behind stuff, this is one of the vehicles that you might want to do that with, because it can get rounds over things sometimes, which is pretty freaking sick if you're in range. And then moving on from these Scots, you're also going to go to the HVSS mod. So this is going to be pretty cool. You're going to go into the mod again, and then you're going to go with this one into the good old, where's he at? Super Pershing as well, because obviously Super Pershing can be mostly your end goal for these guys. And that's going to have you at, where's it at? 60, 70, 90, 290, and then you can come back and get a recons as well, or 2. So your last option is going to be going into armored rifleman, and then going straight to 10th Mountain after that, and then support yourself with the M20. You can throw the M20 in there a little bit earlier if you're having good control, and then I'll give you anti-tank to mess with anything else, and then right after that, bring in the first AD mounted. He'll have another half track to help you out. And then for this one, you're going to go actually with the, you're just going to go with one of these bad boys. Then you're going to go to the 155. This one can be good for urban areas because you can easily call in some artillery to help out. And then you're going to go to the other 155. So this is going to put you at, let's see, 160. So you'll have 40 to come back. You can either go to the M15A1 or the Scott for additional support if you need support at the end, or get some command variants. Offensive is probably one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful American doctrine. Probably most used because people like it in the Super Pershing. Now we're going to move on to the last doctrine. All right, so last but not least, we have the all-around doctrine, arguably the best doctrine. Definitely either number 1 or tied with offensive. But right off the rip, we have military police, no shovels. We have the cavalry recon again with the 30 cal and 50 cal surprise. We have the Big Red 1 rifle squad. Where are they at? Big Red 1, yeah. Or excuse me, these are just the rifle squad. Normal. They're pretty big squads. Come with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12 guys. Pretty effective dudes. These guys come with a couple anti-tank mines that you can lay down or use against enemy vehicles. Then as you progress, you get a little bit better. And then eventually you get to the bazooka, which is pretty nice on these guys. You know, the 1st Division Riflemen, Big Red 1. These guys are pretty cool. As you can see, they're going to be higher tier. They're more health. 345 versus these guys being at 200. So these ones would be pretty nice. And then moving up, you have the Ranger Assault from before tier 4 with 375 health, and then the same one with a smaller squad, or same squad with a 30 cal surprise, and then the anti-tank weapons with the 6mm mortar. Not a lot of infantry in this one, but sometimes simplicity is what you need, which I agree. It makes this one pretty awesome. Then you have, for the columns, you have the Quad 50, which this thing is a freaking beast. And you just gotta love using it. Then you have the 81mm mortar. Nice mortar, and it's got a 50 cal on top of it to protection in a decent spot. So, not a terrible vehicle. And then we have the, where's he at? The 75mm gun carriage. Now this is a light version. A light gun that can very easily help out, and it also carries doesn't have the best range, but it does have heat, so it can work as an anti-tank gun if needed. Kind of like the League for the German side. And then going to the second ones, we have the M4A3105 HVSS. Now this one's just going to have a little bit better mobility than the other earlier M4s, and since these guys recently got a buff, the mix of 105 is pretty dang useful. Also having heat shells, it's going to be able to take out enemy tanks in a pinch if needed. You have the 155 calling again on the radio, and you have the 105 Priest, which this thing is a beast. Gives you mobile 105. That's got armor protection around it. Arguably one of the best call-ins on this doctrine. Then you have the 240mm artillery, pretty big ass guns. If you need them. Then you have the Pershing heavy tank, which is pretty much a better version of the Tiger in my opinion. Slightly better, but still better. And then you have the 155 on a mobile gun chassis. So this is a long tom. I think it's I'm pretty sure it's a long tom, but it's on a mobile gun chassis, which makes it pretty able to survive. I don't think it has the exact same range, but it still has long enough range where it's not going to be a problem. And it's going to be able to deliver shells pretty easy. Reload's a little slow, and it's not super accurate, but it is a big-ass gun. It's pretty effective if used correctly. Alright, so next we're going to be going to the build order. So right off the rip, we're going to call in normal rifle squad. Normal rifle squad followed by an anti-tank to give us local anti-tank support. Then we're going to call in another rifle squad. We're going to just follow on this. If we don't have enough of that, we'll call in the veteran rifle squad. I think these ones have, I'm not sure if they have a slight cooldown. And then we're actually going to go with the Chaffee for this one. So I like this one to be a little bit aggressive. Get a light vehicle that can actually challenge them, push them into getting, this kind of pushes them to get a vehicle that maybe they didn't want to get. So you get in the Chaffee, harass them a little bit, and kind of stay at the edge of their range. Because they have a 190, so it's going to be able to compete up until about the 15-minute mark. 15-minute mark going to be a little rough for this guy, but up until then he has a nice opportunity to kill a lot of infantry and light vehicles, so it kind of forces their hand. After that, I'm going to move on to the Ranger Assault Forces or the 1st Division Riflemen. So that's going to make this pretty awesome. But this one, supporting that Chaffee, number reason I'm doing that is because of this. For this one, I'm going to get 2 of these quad 50s. 2 quad 50s, which are going to be shredding the infantry. The Chaffee is going to be there to support them and kill any tanks that try to kill them. Moving after these 2, we're going to get the 105 awesome howitzer because it has it can move pretty quickly and it has armor around it, so counter battery, unless it's a direct hit on top of you, it's not going to kill you, which is pretty awesome. After that, we're going to move to the M26 Pershing. So M26 Pershing, great tank. It's going to be able to, it's going to struggle a little bit in its tier, but it can take out Panthers and Tigers. Going to struggle versus King Tigers, Jag Panthers, Elephants, anything like that. But it's still a good tank, and it can still do some effective damage. And that'll leave you at 195, so you won't be able to buy anything else. But that's my favorite, probably my favorite build to do that. After that, we're going to go to the second one. Second one's going to be with rifles again as a start. And then moving into the M2. So you might be thinking, why? Why would I get the M2 half-track? It just has a 50 cal. Well, I'm going to show you right now. So we're going to take this guy. Actually, probably someone with more space. This guy's going to run up to the half-track. Just, doing his business. Pull this 30 cal off. Pull out a few hundred rounds. And look at that. I've got a guy who's pretty good health. Now has a 30 cal. Now, it's not going to be the most accurate thing. But this guy's going to have a 30 cal, which is have it ranged out to like 120. So you can do this, because the M2's not really going to use these 230 cals on the side. Take those guys off, and then use them on your squads, which can be very effective. And you already have a 50 cal to support you. So that's my guy. And then in addition, as you can see in here, if you didn't see it already, crawl a little bit faster, buddy. That's 14 anti-tank mines. So take those out and plant those as well. Very effective. After that, I'm going to get another rifle squad, then move in to get some rifle nades to help out for anti-tank or anti-tank squad themselves, and then move on to my heavier infantry. Now for this one, I'm actually going to go to, where is it at? I'm going to go for a quad 50 again, and then I'm going to move into the 105. Now the 105 is going to be very effective with the buffs for the range. Then immediately after this, I'm going to move into the 155, so that'll give me some indirect. I'm already going to have the 105 for my direct coverage, but the 105 is definitely going to help me for taking out enemy artillery and heavy positions. After that, I'm only going to be, let's see, I'll be at 155, so I can still shoot back and get a more carrier if I need to be, or quad 50, or another pack howitzer. So it gives me quite a bit of opportunity to get what I need. Or see at 155, I can shoot back and get another 105, which would be very ideal. But that's my second strategy. Third strategy is going to start with MPs. I think you guys know where this is going. And we have cavalry, then a rifle squad, and then another cavalry. Get 30 and 50 cal up, firing away, and then we're calling an anti-tank, and then move on to the rangers. Now this one is a pretty aggressive one, which I like quite a bit. But you're going to be supported by calling this pack howitzer. So pack howitzer right off the rip. Then you have your artillery call in as well to help any rugged areas that you can't get in. And then after that, you're going to move to the M26 Persian. So that's going to have you at 170. So you're going to have opportunity to go back there and get another pack howitzer if you need it, or get these vehicles to support you as well. Really, really like this one. If you guys enjoyed these build orders, leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and let me know if you guys want to see more of these doctrine videos. I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.